Got a loaded Celtics Today episode for you guys today as a new free agent center target has emerged. Plus, are we going to trade Anfernee Simons in order to shed more money and potentially get under the luxury tax this offseason? We're going to discuss all that and more in just a moment. But first, I need your guys' help. It's the 4th of July, and I'm working. I'm boosting the country's economy on the 4th. But my boss has said I need to get 25 new subs on this video, or else I will not get this holiday back later on this year. So don't get me yelled at and don't get my holiday 4th of July cooked, and go down below and hit the subscribe button. All right, this tweet came out yesterday as moves are being made around the NBA, and the Houston Rockets specifically are loading up this offseason. They've gotten to a point where they just have too many players who deserve to be in rotations in this league, and even some that they're keeping on the roster that won't see the light of day on the floor next season. But they did have to make a couple of cuts after making the Kevin Durant deal and doing all their work in the draft and whatnot. Kelly Iko, the Athletic beat reporter for the Houston Rockets, says the Rockets are waiving veteran center Jock Landale, according to sources. And a handful of teams have already expressed interest upon clearing waivers. Now, there has been no clear-cut report on whether or not the Boston Celtics have been zeroed in or view Jock Landale as a free agent target this offseason, and they already are above the second apron, so they're not really in the business of spending a bunch of money right now. But they are bringing in a couple of centers that, are kind of fit the same mold as guys who haven't seen the biggest overall opportunity in their careers, but, they fall in the same tier together. Like, Landale has played a couple of seasons with the Rockets, and he's been averaging over 10 minutes a night, but the guys you see on screen have not been having that same fate. Neemias Queta has not been a over 10 minutes a game guy outside of this season. Luka Garza has only had one season above 10 minutes a game his rookie year. And Xavier Tillman, I don't really want him much at the center position at 6'7", and Amari Williams is a rookie. So you're not exactly too strong down in the front court or at that center spot specifically. And Landale's probably a guy who has had more experience overall than any of them. He's already played 4 seasons in the league. He's out of Australia. And look, Celtics fans, they're very, very accustomed to a bruising big man who can rebound the basketball and finish down low and be a physical force down in the painted area. In Aaron Baines way back when, and a guy who eventually extended his three-point range a little bit for the Celtics. That little crazy form, push shot, one-legged three ball. I know my guy producer Dylan next to me remembers Aaron Baines' top of the key triples against his New York Knicks. So this I feel like could be the same sort of idea here, bringing in a Jock Landale type for the low. He was signed a 4-year, $32 million extension with the Rockets, but ended up that not having a lot of that guaranteed for the next few seasons. They ended up waiving him. He was going to be due $8 million this season, but he'll probably be seeing somewhere in the realm of a vet minimum contract. And it's because he's got to put up vet minimum numbers for most of his career to this point. But he is, only 29 years old. He kind of fits the Celtics timeline a little bit. And who knows? He could maybe show you a couple of things with an expanded role this season. He's been fairly available throughout his career. I'm sure most of the games missed on his plate have been via DNPs rather than, extended time missed due to injury. But this is a guy who's, he shot it at a decent clip from three-point range. He had actually the biggest volume of his career back in his rookie season, but ended up shooting, a little bit more than half a three a game given the minutes that he was playing this past year at around 12 a night. So, he was getting a guy who, if you play 20 minutes a night, he's going to get up 1 or 2, 3 threes a night. And if he can hit it at a 40% clip, that would be awesome for the C's, who have lost all kind of floor spacing ability there at that center spot. We'll see if Luka Garza will be able to extend his range for the C's. But look, man, these guys are all giant question marks. You don't know what you're going to get in a version of a 20-minute-a-game Jock Landale or a 20-minute-a-game Luka Garza or, oh my goodness, a 20-minute-a-game Neemias Queta as well. So there are situations where the Celtics could definitely benefit by bringing in another center this season, even if they're not going to be all that competitive. They don't want to just get completely run off the floor in the front court. So Landale could be another name that is out there on the free agency market that Boston should take a look at. Can bruise around the rim and finish down low and rebound the basketball. Just things that you're going to need in order to win games at some point this season. So should the Celtics sign Jock Landale, yes or no? You let me know down in the comments section on whether or not you think this would be a good free agent target for the C's, as he just got waived by Houston. Look, and he got waived by a really good Houston team, by the way. They're going to contend in the Western Conference, contend for an NBA championship. You could argue they are the second favorite to come out of the West after the reigning OKC Thunder. So from my point of view, this whole kind of philosophy when it comes to signing centers this offseason, because you lose Luke Cornett and you lose Al Horford. Like, the center position with the players that we popped up on screen before, a lot of super unproven and super inexperienced, the whole group. So, like, how about we just try to find as many of those guys as possible? Like, this is, if it feels like a dartboard for the C's here when you look at their center spot. Like, they don't really have any clear-cut idea as to what the future of that position is going to look like. And they don't really have a lot of money to find out who that could be. So these low-cost and low-risk options that eventually could outplay their contracts, much like a Luke Cornett, albeit, I don't know if you're going to find another 7'3", long wingspan player like he is, and with the IQ that he plays with and passing ability, maybe you could mold some of these guys into that type of player. But you don't know what you're going to get from the Celtics center position over these next couple of years, and you might as well just throw as many low risk, low cost darts as possible, and try to find somebody who's going to outplay that contract. I think if you throw Garza, Landale, and Keita and Amari Williams in that pool together, one is going to emerge as a player who could actually be a rotation guy in this league. Now, before we move on to the next part of today's show, I wanted to go with this little kind of intermission story right here, as Chris B. Haynes is reporting that Damian Lillard is open to signing with a team this offseason under the right terms and conditions to continue rehabbing. He wants to continue rehabbing up in Portland, so I guess maybe that pipe dream that I had about Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard kind of rehabbing together, doing a little rehab collab, a journey together to repair those torn Achilles. Wouldn't necessarily be the case. He would probably want to continue doing his rehab up in Portland, but teams are trying to sign him to a 2-year deal, and he's receiving ample interest, they say, but he's in no rush to make a decision. So we'll keep you guys updated as that goes on, and hopefully the Celtics are a team that he does have some interest in, potentially contending in the Eastern Conference on a low-risk, low-cost deal in 26-27, and then the Celtics can even make more financial moves, or flexible moves to improve themselves around the margins there to get right back into contention once JT is back. We'll talk about that trade to shed more money in just a moment, but get hooked up with this awesome championship T-shirt from 2024. I know this is what I think producer Dylan's going to get himself one of these real soon. And you can get at this link right here as well for like half off, even more than half off of what it was. Chatsports.com/champ sale. It's got those awesome looking caricatures of all the contributors last year, all the legends that raised a banner 18 in Boston. Get it at this link right here, chatsports.com/champ sale. That link's in the comment section and description of today's video. All right, let's talk about it, man. Anfernee Simons. I've had some high hopes for him. Look, I want to see what he can do on the Celtics. Like, is there a way to unlock him as a player and try to put him in a position where, we're in a winning culture now? Like, he's been on a bad Portland team his entire career. Like, eventually you got to kind of look at the environment around them, and years after years of mediocre front office decisions and moves and changing coaches and changing, front office members. Like, it really just doesn't allow for a player to reach his max potential. And now he comes to a well-oiled organization in Boston where potentially he could shine, but he is on an expiring contract. He's making $27 million, and the Celtics don't have a lot of flexibility to get more money off of their books to get closer and closer under the luxury tax. So, with not many opportunities to go out there and shed a big chunk of money, trading Anfernee Simons might be the only way to do so, especially when you consider Boston does not want to trade Sam Hauser whatsoever. Remember this report that we heard at the beginning of the offseason where they said speculation has surrounded Sam Hauser's future? Because remember, his $10 million a year deal was going to cost $80 million when it came to the luxury tax when the penalties hit after the trade deadline next season. And they said, but it's not going to be difficult to find a taker for him. He would be sought after around the league. He's got an awesome deal, 4 years, $45 million for a 43% three-point shooter. But they want to keep him. Like, naturally, they would want to keep a guy like that, and they see him as a valuable rotation piece and one of the NBA's best shooters at all. Like, he was an undrafted player, but now he's become one of the league's most knockdown three-point shooters. And the team agreed to acquire Anfernee Simons, George Niang, but both players are candidates to be moved before they ever play a game for Boston. Now, some more cap-saving moves here, and you got J.D. Davison, who they accepted the team option on. They could waive him, just get rid of that money there. I don't think it's all guaranteed for a couple of days or maybe a week or so. Anfernee Simons, $27 million. Like, there's an opportunity there to get off a chunk of money. Who knows how many teams are really able to absorb, $7 to $10 million in a deal. But I'll be on the lookout for some potential Anfernee Simons trade destinations. George Niang, $8.2 million. Could he fit into a trade exception around the league? That's possible as well. And then Sam Hauser, like he's there, $10 million, but the Celtics don't really want to move him. Simons is going to be the guy that we're talking about at this point. And Brett Siegel of Clutch Points ended up bringing this up. He said, after trading Lonzo Ball Saturday and continuing to field offers about Kobe White, the Chicago Bulls may need a new point guard next to Josh Giddey, who they also have to re-sign at this point. So they're also kind of moving along slowly this offseason as well, as restricted free agency is not easy to navigate this summer. So who the team intends to re-sign, obviously. The Bulls like to play fast and shoot a lot of threes, which would fit Simon's style of play perfectly. More importantly, from Boston's point of view, Nikola Vucevic is a veteran big man who would make a lot of sense at a one-year replacement for Kristaps Porzingis. Such a swap would immediately move the Celtics out of the first apron and give them a key veteran at center. So maybe we're not looking at a Jock Landale signing, and we're looking at bringing an actual vet in the building, a guy who you can trust to play 25 to 30 minutes a night each night this season. So I would be all in on bringing Vucevic in. Now, am I super happy about trading Jrue Holiday essentially for Nikola Vucevic? I'm not really that happy about that, to be quite honest with you. But at this point, like the Celtics' focus has shifted not to 25-26. It's focused to 26-27. And when Tatum comes back, and what version of this team or this roster are we going to see then? Have as much money off of the books heading into 2026 and heading into even the 27-28 season as possible. So is there this new NBA that's going to be 2-year windows here? Like you don't really see yourself contending next season, so why pay out of the ass in luxury tax for a team that's not going to contend for a championship? So that's why I don't even mind bringing in a guy like Nikola Vucevic, who is not going to be a tank commander, but look, he's an absolute cone on defense. He's not going to be a ceiling raiser for this Boston Celtics team. He will probably raise the floor a little bit as, that kind of offensive threat down low, and he can shoot the outside shot as well. But he is 34 years old, cannot move at all on defense. I want to make that abundantly clear. He will not play any defense and really has not shown much of a willingness to either. But on the offensive end, he can fill up the stat sheet, no doubt about it. He's an 18-point-per-game guy, 18 and 10. He walks in the gym and just walks out. And he's been shooting the ball at a really, really high clip this past season. 40% from three on more than a few attempts a game. He's absolutely launching them. And you know what? He can really do some good work down in the low post. He's got the push shot. He's got the in-between game. He is a 3-level scorer in a way. So, you bring a guy in like this and you have an offensive complement next to a Jaylen Brown, next to a Derek White, next to a Peyton Pritchard, and this team can suddenly play 5 out again confidently. But this trade is just 1-for-1. Nikola Vucevic for Anfernee Simons. Look, I would like to squeeze a second-round pick out of them if possible, but you are the ones sending away the more expensive expiring salary, so that is probably maybe going to require a second-round pick on Boston's end. But I know Brad Stevens is a wizard, and he didn't have to give up any draft picks in order to get Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday's contracts off of the books. I don't think he'll have to do this. I think he'll have to do the same thing with Anfernee Simons here. A 1-for-1 would work, and look, there's a couple of factors that would have to go into this trade kind of going down. Chicago would probably have to move Kobe White before, or maybe have something in place to move him after this trade. He only makes $12.5 million, so it is a little bit of a difficult asset to move at this point in the league with how much guys get paid and getting value back for a guy like Kobe White. But he plays a similar style as Anfernee Simons, so you probably have to move a guy like that before you end up making this deal, sending Vooch away and kind of relinquishing your center depth in order to get a guy who you already have on the roster. But in the Celtics' point of view, it's all about dumping the salary now. If you're thinking this is a bad trade and they're not getting the value back, it's all about dumping salary right now. So just get off as much money as you possibly can, and you get a decent enough player on the offensive end in Nikola Vucevic while you have no center on your own roster. And then another move would follow this as well. The Celtics wouldn't be completely under the luxury tax, so you'd find a landing spot for George Niang or somebody else towards the trade deadline or something like that. That somebody will be wanting George Niang. Trust me, he can hit the outside shot at a 40% clip. You could find a trade partner for those type of guys in this league, no doubt about it. Only makes $8 million. And then once you make that deal for a second-round pick and just get off the money completely, you're now under the luxury tax and you are no longer a repeater. So this is kind of like a stepping stone type of trade. What do you guys think? A for accept, D for decline. Let me know what you guys have to say down in the comment section if you would accept Nikola Vucevic coming back for Anfernee Simons in just a 1-for-1 deal. For those reasons that I've said, I would accept it. I'm not saying for the encore talent. I would much rather have Anfernee Simons if the Celtics were thinking about extending him then I would want a Nikola Vucevic. But if we're just up in salary and if the number one focus is getting under the luxury tax, then I would do this trade because it gets you a whole heck of a lot closer. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That will do it for today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Lock us in as your number one spot for Celtics content all offseason long. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go C's.